I'm doing a history of the church, and you don't want this on the interview, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Is it going?
It's going.
Oh, okay, this will be the starting off point. I'm doing a historical research of the church, and I get into little things, and then I really go in for detail. And I was looking at the 1885 death register.
Okay.
And, you know, nowadays everybody lives to be 70 whatever years old. But back then, there was 167 deaths in that year. It's a very large church. And from oldest to youngest, I'm going from memory now, the oldest person was 90, the next one was 70, and then there was a couple in the 60s. There was two of them, I think, that were 62, and then boom, 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 down into the 50s, 40s, 30s, 20s, you know, one here, one here, one here, one here. And,
wow.
And then at the short end of life, 30% of the funerals were for infants under the age of 4 months.
Wow.
High infant mortality rate.
Why?
And that was typical, I guess, back then.
When was that? What?
This is 1885.
Okay.
There was 400 baptisms, 488 baptisms in 1 year.
Wow.
And virtually 40 or 50 of those died. Most of the ones that I'm sure died had been baptized that year, and then they died within months of their birth. So.
And what church is that?
That's the First Trinity Church.
In Bridgeport.
Yeah. But people had lots of kids back then, and part of the reason they had lots of kids is because the kids didn't survive too much.
So they just kept on having them.
Yeah.
Wow. How long have you attended that church?
1974, early 1974, I came in as a guest organist. They had an old guy, I never met him, he had died the previous year, so they were pulling in substitutes, and I was one of the substitutes. So.
It's exciting.
Okay.
What's
Ask
been your
me another question.
What's been your favorite moment at the church? Because I know the church, you're very close to the church. So
Yeah.
It's a big thing for you.
Boy, I'd have to think about that. That'd be hard to quantify because it's apples and oranges, you know. Whether it was a particular event, a particular date, or a longer activity, it'd be hard for me to. Say the question again. What was the
Your favorite moment at the church? Like
moment?
Your favorite, yeah.
That implies one specific moment. That'd be hard to answer.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the most fulfilling long-term thing that's happened there is I helped get that God's Closet started, where we hand out clothes and stuff to people less fortunate than ourselves. So that's been pretty fulfilling.
How long has God's Closet been there?
1999 it started, so it's in its 15th year.
Wow. It's good. It's great. How long have you lived here in Bridgeport?
Oh, 1976. Yeah.
1976.
Yeah.
And then before then?
I was in other neighborhoods of Chicago, Brighton Park for a few years, Marquette Park back in the day. That's all changed, of course. The demographics have changed dramatically.
Is Marquette Park still?
It's predominantly African American.
Okay.
Now. I know, you know, churches that have closed, they did not adapt to the changing surroundings, and they just closed.
Wow. What's your favorite part of living in Chicago?
One of the things would be convenience. You can get things easily. You don't have to drive a car around. You can walk or get on a bike and go shopping.
Right.
And when you're living out somewhere, you're more dependent on, well, dependent on transportation certainly, and things like that. So
Would you live anywhere else?
I don't think so. I've gotten used to the city, and I kind of like it. So for a boy that was born and raised on a dairy farm, that's quite a thing to say.
Right. How long were you on the dairy farm? How long?
Well, till I went to college.
Okay.
It was not an easy life, you know. There's lots of, it's like child labor.
Right.
You know, you have to help. You have to pick up the eggs in the chicken house. You have to do this. You have to provide the food and the water for the livestock,
Mm-hmm.
bale the hay, do all kinds of dusty, dirty things, and it puts starch in your life. It really makes you used to. Life is so easy compared to a life like that.
Yeah.
In a rural setting.
I used to live on a farm. We had chickens and geese, ducks, a couple of cows. It wasn't so much of a dairy farm or anything. Guineas. Do you know what guineas are?
A type of fowl, right?
Yeah, they would run around. They ate snakes, basically, so it kind of helped to keep the snakes away from the chickens. What else did we had goats at one point. My grandpa had a couple of emus.
Wow.
That would run around. And
Sounds like a gentleman's farm where you weren't really making money off of it.
no, it was just a way. I mean, he made money off of. He was retired Army, and so he had money from retirement. But in order to kind of get by, he had different farm animals, and so we had eggs and we had chickens and just stuff to get by. So it was like something to do, and then it kind of helped cover expenses.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember the chickens. I remember having to go out and get eggs, and then them pecking at my hands like crazy, and then
Yeah, we call those where they call the clucks, the ones that were ornery hens that were protecting their eggs,
Right.
and they would peck at you. Yeah.
It always scared the hell out of me. Yeah, I remember that for sure.
And then let's see, as far as the chickens go, we had a chicken yard with a fence, but my dad would, when the chickens got of age, he would clip one of the wings
Right.
so they couldn't fly over the fence.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they sometimes flap their wings or whatever, but couldn't make it anyway. Yeah.
He would get the chickens as little chicks, and he'd have a spotlight on them to, I don't know, he got 50 or 100 at a time in the spring to keep them warm.
Right.
And then they would grow, and they would run loose. They would run loose.
Right.
And at night, of course, they can't see very well, so that's when you can catch them. But they would roost in the trees, and we would, they were getting to the point where they were laying eggs. Yeah, when they would lay eggs, as a kid, it would be so much fun to go in the barn and find where they had their nests. You
Right.
know, you'd find a dozen eggs, and of course, most of the eggs were bad because they were in the
Right.
sun and everything. But I'm not sure about that. They might have been okay. My mother took care of processing the eggs. But that was so much fun. Then you'd go every day and pick up another egg in the nest because they would stay in the same nest.
We had we had two different types of them. We had incubators. One was like a styrofoam one, and one was like a metal one, to where you put the eggs, and it simulated the hen sitting on the eggs. Basically, it was the same amount of heat and everything. And
Oh, you would process the eggs
Yes.
and raise chickens from the eggs.
Yes. So our hens, like if my grandpa wanted to have more chickens or wanted to have chicks, we would take the eggs, and instead of using them for breakfast or for meals or whatever, we would take the eggs and put them straight from the hen's nest into an incubator.
Yeah.
And then that incubator, you set it like, you know, like the date, like he knew exact date of when the chicks were supposed to be born, and he kept it at the right temperatures and.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so it was kind of.
When my dad would get, he would get the chicks already hatched, and then nurse them along. I'm not sure of the process, but for some reason there was very few roosters. I don't know how they would engineer that, because you would think 50% of them would be roosters, but I mean, they knew that they were hens that would lay eggs eventually. And the handful of roosters that you would get, when they got of age, my dad would catch them and, you know, hatchet them and then eat them.
Okay.
Because we didn't want the eggs fertilized.
Right.
And then Mom would candle the eggs to see if they were growing. If there was blood in the yolk, then we did not want to sell those.
Right.
So yeah, we never did start the chickens from, and I don't remember any accidental chickens ever hatching and growing like that. So yeah,
Where would he get the chicks? Do you remember?
don't remember. Yeah.
Sometimes we would go to a poultry auction, and they would auction off chickens, and usually it was a small town thing or whatever. But so if we needed extra chickens and we needed them right away, full size, adult.
Yeah, I'd have to ask my older brothers if they knew about that. I assumed it was some sort of company that would regularly sell a bunch of chicks, but I truly don't know what the nature of that was. And then for the cows, the dairy, once again, he didn't have bulls,
Right.
because they can be mean and this and that, so he had artificial insemination company come in and inseminate the cows. And yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, the both sides of my family had emigrated to America in the last half of the 19th century, and they were all farmers, 100% farmers.
Right.
All of my aunts and uncles were farmers, except one uncle. He went to college and he served in Korea and this and that. I think he got help from the government going to college because he served in Korea. He was in the army.
Right.
But all the rest of them were farmers. Then my generation, all the cousins, there's about 12 cousins, only one is a farmer. Everybody got away from farming.
Wow.
So.
And he still farms, your cousin, or no?
Yeah, he's up in Sharon, Wisconsin, just over the border, near Lake Geneva, somewhere up there.
Very cool.
So, let's see, have we exhausted the farming thing?
How was that schedule, like, growing up?
Well, I had two older brothers, and let's see, the dairy got sold. My dad sold the dairy in 1965, so I was like 17 years old. I was into it then, where I would have to get up and help, wake up in the morning. He would have one of us get up at 5 in the morning,
Right.
to milk the cows.
Right.
And but I got kind of on the tail end of that. I mean, my older brothers, when they went to college, then of course, when you go to college, you're not there anymore. So,
Right. You don't have to worry about it.
So, boy, I'm pulling from memory now. It's not easy. Yeah, it's an interesting. I mean, I think about those things now, and that's decades ago. But
Right,
you,
right.
you remember the glamorous, wonderful things. You don't remember the bad things of life. You only remember the wonderful little things. But it was a very educational time.
Yeah.
You learn a lot and
Yes.
stuff like that.
Definitely.
So, where was your grandfather located?
That was
in Oklahoma
in
somewhere?
Oklahoma.
Okay.
Yeah. He actually lived in Watts, a small town called Watts, Oklahoma.
Okay.
Yeah. It was really good times though. I mean, because it's tough work and it's hard, but like you feel good about it. You feel good about getting up every day and being a part of that whole process, and knowing that you took part in like raising your food,
I would love to jump on a wagon and load a load of hay.
Right.
As long as the wind is blowing the right way, that's wonderful. But there's other things I'd never want to do, like what were some of the things? I had an uncle that was a hog rancher, or a hog farmer, and I was there one day and he was butchering pigs. I don't get into that too
Right.
much. And the neighbor had pigs, and he would wait too long to the testicles,
Right.
you remove the testicles. You're like, holy pig, and when he's with his razor blade, he kind of goes, oh boy. And then the barber in town, they were called mountain oysters. He would save them all, and then you would consume those things. I'm the blood and guts of farming. I don't think I could take that anymore. But
I never had anything to do with pigs. Not once. There was when I was in the Air Force. I volunteered with a foster care group home of teen boys, and there were 8 teen boys, and one of them had me helping him with raising a pig, and so that was my first experience.
18 boys.
No, 8 boys.
Teen boys.
No.
Yeah.
8 teen
Teenaged
boys.
boys.
Yes.
Yeah.
And one of them was raising a pig, so I helped him with that process. Didn't know much about it, but was there to help him, take him to go feed the pig, because the pig wasn't actually there at the house. It was actually on the school grounds. So
We had one lamb, Wimpy the lamb, and it was, I don't know, it was a token thing. But eventually it developed, it got maggots on it, so I don't remember exactly. But it was we were not, it was an educational thing. We weren't raising it particularly to butcher it or anything like that. I don't know how it happened. I think he gave it away or something. So, but yeah. But we never had, it was basically cows or chickens. And then he had beef cattle, and he would have the locker in town he would have it butchered, and my dad would keep half of the beef, because if you keep a quarter, the hind quarter is superior to the front quarter, so
right.
He would sell it by the half. We would keep half for the family, and he rented a locker in town where they would freeze the meat, and then the other half he would sell to somebody.
And that half lasts forever.
Oh yeah, as I recall, there was never a moment of hunger.
Right.
So, and you think sometimes now about the way certain things that people eat. Back then they didn't realize, maybe too much bacon and eggs might not be good for you and things
right.
like that. But that's the way you lived back then.
That was it. Huh. Did you get into comics as a kid?
Oh, a little bit. What do you mean? Reading comics?
Reading comics, or were there radio TV shows with comics?
Oh yeah, I mean, it was
superheroes is more like them.
Yeah. Well, television. I remember when we got the first television. It was a 12-inch screen, a Philco TV, and that was in the early 1950s. And there was the Howdy Doody show,
okay.
and Captain Kangaroo and things like that. And
I saw Captain Kangaroo as a kid.
Bob Keeshan, the guy who started.
the guy that
you actually met
I've not met him, but I did watch him on TV.
Yeah.
Growing up as a kid. I think it was older reruns though.
Yeah.
What was your favorite show then? Whenever it first.
Well, let me think now. Well, Howdy Doody, of course, as a child. But I mean, television shows, that was the golden age of television back then. And if you didn't see it, you missed it, you didn't see it, because you couldn't record it, you couldn't look at it again, and unless it came out as reruns later.
There, yeah.
I mean, comedy was wonderful. I Love Lucy, The Honeymooners, all kinds of things like that. Older shows.
As part of my journey, I went to Jamestown, New York.
Okay.
That's where Lucy was born, and it's where she's buried now. And so the whole town is basically dedicated to Lucille Ball.
Wow.
And that was interesting. Everything is Lucy.
Huh.
I love Lucy. I think that it was a great show, and she's a wonderful person.
They had, a few years later, they were showing, the Three Stooges were big. They were showing Three Stooges things on the short 20-minute programs that they had. And one of them had Lucille Ball, and it was
really
3 women. They were young women, and that was part of their comedy thing. So that's the earliest Lucy that I ever saw. I don't know that she was a child actress. I can't say that, but of course then when she got together with Desi, that's when things really got going. So.
Right. Of course. Very cool.
It was just a wonderful era, the television era. I can't really think too much of other shows that are... McHale's Navy, all kinds of comedy, half-hour comedies, a lot of half-hour comedy shows back then.
I always, it wasn't TV shows, but, well maybe it was too, but I don't think it was. Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis in movies.
Oh, yeah.
Like I grew up watching a lot of those,
yeah.
like the black and white movies. I don't know exactly what time frame that was.
I think Jerry Lewis is still alive.
He's still going.
He's be 90-something now.
Yeah.
In the latter part of Dean Martin's era was the Dean Martin celebrity roasts. I always enjoyed watching those. Yeah. I'm drawing a blank on television shows.
Right.
I don't watch television much now, except for the news and
Okay.
stuff. I just kind of got away from that.
Don't like it, or just don't have time, or?
Well, I would say probably don't have the time. Don't take the time. If I really wanted to, I could take time and learn to like programs. But you get into an older age bracket, and you get a little disconnected from what's going on these days. So I appreciate the humor. I watch some of the late night talk shows. And
How do you like Jimmy Fallon?
yeah.
He's okay.
I like Jimmy Kimmel probably better than
Jimmy Kimmel.
I kind of like David Letterman. Of course, he's going off the air now.
Right.
But
What do you think about the guy that's replacing him? Or
I don't know
do
too
you
much about him. From what I hear, I think it's going to be okay.
I think so. I think it's going into good hands. Stephen Colbert is his name.
Yeah. But they said he might do things as his own person and not as
the character that
he plays a
right.
character or something.
Yeah. He does a character on Comedy Central that's kind of a political character. It's out there. It's funny. I mean, it's really funny, but yeah, you can tell it's a character.
It's staged as a character.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I might have seen him once or twice, but did he interview Obama within the last couple of months or something, or was that
He may have.
somebody else?
He has a lot of political people on. It's more like a political show on Comedy Central.
Yeah. Now, where do you get Comedy Central? You have to.
It's a cable.
Cable for that, yeah.
Yeah.
Haven't gotten into cable yet. If I end up in a wheelchair, then I'll probably get cable because I won't have anything else to do.
Anywhere else, yeah. Good that you live your life though, not in front of a TV.
Yeah.
It's good.
Listen to radio once in a while.
How is that?
Well, I listen to the progressive talk radio and stuff. So
PBR, right?
What's
What
that?
is it called? What is it called? Public?
no,
No.
it's the station is 8:20 a.m.
Okay.
Or they have FM ones also. It's called Progressive Talk, and it's the liberal end of things, not
Oh, okay.
not the Rush Limbaugh end of
Okay.
things. So, yeah,
What are your thoughts on Rush Limbaugh?
I don't care for that at all. It's horrendous, really. The emotion and anger that is being fostered
A lot of
in
anger.
society, and it's I don't know, just don't understand it. People are well, human nature tends to be selfish anyway.
Right.
But then when you make it worse by caricaturizing the opposition and making them look like evil, then you're going in a direction that is not a real nice thing. I don't know. I think I think the United States is a little bit is fostering a bad reputation. We feel like we're entitled, we feel like we're better than everybody else, and
Has it always been that way?
I don't think so. I think it's more recent. People that are wealthy want to get more wealthy and at the expense of the other people, and I don't know. That's the impression I get from this, listening to the people banter around on the radio. But yeah.
If you could change anything about the world, would that be what you would change?
Nationalism, people that promote their own nation and think they're better than everybody else, and religious extremism and things like that. That's not good.
It's kind of a goofy question, but if you could be any superhero, who would you be?
Well, as a kid, of course, we watched Superman with George Reeves and all that, and I don't know. Of the few superheroes, then mine go back a while. Batman's cool,
Okay.
Batman and Robin, and that would be one, I suppose.
Batman?
Superhero. Trying to think of the other ones. Give me some options.
Batman, Spider-Man, Superman, Captain America, Hulk. Wolverine,
The Incredible Hulk.
Uh-huh.
No. Spider-Man, I don't know too much about him. He goes up the sides of buildings and does things, I guess. It's a nice concept. I don't know that I watched it or ever watched much of that.
Was it on back in? Did they have a TV show back in the day, or
I don't recall it a TV show.
any TV show for Spider-Man?
But what
Batman?
is-
Was Batman?
Well, that was a half-hour series on TV for a while. So,
So would you say
That was-
Batman or Superman?
yeah, if I had to pick one, I'd say Batman.
Good for you. Me too.
Okay.
I love Batman. Yeah. Good stuff. Thoughts on Disney? Do you like Disney?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
He's from Chicago. You know that, right?
Yeah, from was he from Chicago or Waukegan or somewhere? No, Jack Benny's from Waukegan.
He's from Hermosa.
North side somewhere, isn't it?
Yeah, it's up further north. It's a little small.